balance of performance, things have been changing relatively rapidly here. Looks like these cars are well fueled, maybe going for a longish run. I like it. It just adds to the spectacle as far as I'm concerned. Can we have more flames out the side, please?
It does. It does add to the spectacle. What's going to be interesting is if we get a similar in-car shot from one of the new cars. Why? Because that's where some of the big changes have actually come for the new AMG GT3. And in an onboard black light, I'm told, with glow-in-the-dark switchgear and a...
That's a great idea.
And a instrument panel that now faces more towards the driver. It's far more ergonomically designed by drivers for drivers, is what Tom Onslow-Cole's comment to Daily Sports Car was earlier.
For those of you who are slightly younger than the commentary team here at Dubai Autodrome, blacklight was very popular in the 60s and 70s in discotheques and other music venues.
Was that when we had the trendy beat combos?
Yeah, the beat was a bit quick for me, but the kids seem to like it. Paul Trustwell is with us, the fourth member of our team in the booth.
The Ringo to our John, Paul and George.
Well, yes. Grid set. Times in this session counting for naught in terms of grid position, but with limited running over the last couple of days, absolutely essential, Paul, for teams, particularly with some of these new cars, which they perhaps have done very little other than a shakedown testing, to get some meaningful data.
And bearing in mind as well that more than half of the race is going to be in the dark, it's very important that you can appreciate how your car handles, that you can see where you're going, that, as you were saying, you know where the turning points are, you know where the braking points are. All they've had thus far have been optional test sessions, free practice sessions, and they've all been in daylight. This is the only nighttime running they get, and as I say, that's going to constitute more than half of the race. So they need to know that they can work with the circuit the way it is now.
This vies with Daytona, doesn't it, for the most darkness in a 24-hour race?
Yes, I think
official darkness.
Well, yeah, and real darkness, yeah, between the time between sunset and sunrise. As I say, more than 12 hours. I think it's 13 hours and a quarter or something that we have, and that is important because the drivers need to know where they can make their overtaking moves up on the inside, where they should go on the outside.
Let's head down to the pit lane where Bruce Jones is waiting for us. Good evening, Bruce.
Good evening, John. Bruce Jones with Ed Jones. Now, Ed hasn't had as much track time as he wants here in Dubai. Because unfortunately, car 81 had a little accident earlier. Tell us about it, and obviously it's good to have you back on the track.
Yeah, I know. In the morning practice, my teammate had an incident. Just getting used to the car, I think it was cold tyres, and so he hit the wall. But the team did an amazing job to swap the car. We had to change the chassis. So everything was fixed for qualifying, except we didn't have the ABS working. So Chris Zoiching did an amazing job to put us fifth in class without the ABS. And the boys are still going to have to work hard overnight, but we're going to have a good car for tomorrow. And I can't thank the team enough for doing the job they've done.
Obviously, 100 cars are trying to go out racing, but the 991 class on its own, very competitive. Yeah,
exactly. The caliber of drivers in this class is amazing. It's actually my first ever, yesterday was my first day ever driving a tin-top car, so it's all a new experience for me. Having 100 cars on the track and the speed differences, it's going to be something I'm going to have to get used to, but in practice it was okay, and I'm really looking forward to the race.
It's not like you're not used to speed, though, but that's on the ovals and Indy Lights. What are your real plans for this year, though?
Yeah, I'm going to do Indy Lights again. That was the main thing. This race wasn't my plan to start with. We only decided an hour before practice yesterday that I was going to drive. So it's a very late deal. But yeah, the plan's to do Indy Lights again. Obviously, aim for IndyCar in 2017 and doing some more endurance racing and GT stuff, because the more you can do, the more you learn and the more open you are to other drives.
Well, Ed Jones, good to have you on board. Good luck.
It's amazing what can happen when you're just wandering around a paddock and you happen to have brought your race licence with you. We saw we were watching the onboards earlier on from one of the older Mercedes-Benz. As far as the older Porsches are concerned, in the GT3, the A6 category. It's the photographic darkroom look for Attempt Tour Racing. Blue on the outside.
See what develops.
Red on the inside. Very you beat me to it. I knew I should have gone with that earlier. The 999 car out on the circuit at the moment. And again, I'll underline what Graham Goodwin was saying earlier on. For those of you watching the cam, this is an outlap for the 999 car, so 2 little dots on the side of the rear window showing he hasn't passed the start-finish line yet. As he comes round this time, it will pick up his position, and that is 21st, according to what is on the side of the car. I can't believe how good those onboard cameras are.
Fabulous.
Because that is not what we're seeing looking down towards turn 1, and even when we saw the cameras out on the circuit looking towards the skyline, we literally cannot pick out the skyline of Dubai, and the guys on the cameras are seeing that. That's now in full darkness.
It's twinkling. One of the things I was going to say, John, as we were saying a little earlier this weekend, a lot of new cars here. It's fascinating when these guys come in after some sustained nighttime running. There you go. That's how dark it is. You can see that. Is to listen to the feedback from these guys when they talk to the crew about what they're finding with the cockpit. Sometimes the lighting that's provided from factory is too bright, that actually it's too distracting, and they have to work out some way of dimming that lighting, sometimes by the expedience of sticking extra tape over those kind of knobs, dials and whistles. But it is a fascinating kind of part of the science to it.
Adrian Michael Rees may have already won the Tweet of the Week competition that we're having. He's tweeted at Specutainment, picking up on the Paul Trustwell, the Ringo to our George, John and Paul, except with better timing, he says, which I thought was very good indeed. Very good. On so many levels.
Remember who was the best drummer in the Beatles?
There you go, yeah, exactly. Remember what Lennon said? Ringo's not even the best drummer in the Beatles.
Yeah.
I apologise for the Ringo reference.
Just to pick up on what Graham was saying and to talk about what we're here for, the other aspect to it of light inside the cockpit is all of a sudden you start getting things reflecting in your eyes, which you didn't get before. You know, there's a bright light somewhere on the left-hand side, but it's also being reflected from that window over in the right-hand side.
And it catches your eye and you think there's a car there.
Yeah, exactly.
I had a long chat with Mark Webber about this. In the Porsche, which I'll tell you about in a moment. I think we can go down to the pit lane and pick up an interview. It's Nick Damon down there.
It is me, yes.
Sorry, Nick.
No, it's fine. I'm with Jeroen Bleekemolen. I've made Jeroen have to stop eating his breakfast cereal. First of all, Jeroen, why are you eating? Oh, it's not cereal. It's soup. You're having soup.
It's soup time. Hopefully, it makes us quicker.
You've preempted my question. Qualifying, not the place, not the qualifying speed we expected to see from Black Falcon. Is that because it's a new car, or would something go wrong, bad traffic? What happened?
Oh, we had a really good run actually, and I think I took the maximum out of the car. It's a new car, so they're still working on balance of performance with these cars, and we were punished quite hard in the first day of practice. They gave us a bigger restrictor, so we're better now. We're still missing a little bit, which is not too bad because I think in the long run we can do really well, but in qualifying we missed some speed, particularly top speed to the Audis, but it was a good run.
I mean, it was a very, very dominant performance by the Audis. Do you expect to see them overnight getting more restricted, or perhaps for you to get a break overnight?
I don't know if they're going to change anything, to be honest, but of course we hope, but if not, then it's the way it is. We'll fight hard. Again, I think we should challenge them hard, and it's easy to make mistakes in this race with all the traffic out there, so we're going to have to push all of us, and at the same time try to stay out of trouble.
Now, we're very lucky to have some onboards from your car and your teammates' car, and what's striking, obviously, is the amount of lighting inside the car as well as outside the car. How difficult it is to get a balance, to get the instruments and the buttons lit correctly in this full dark, but not be distracted.
I have to say AMG has done a great job again developing this car. When I drove it here 2 days ago for the first time, or yesterday, it was a really nice car to drive, easy. Everything was well prepared. There are a lot of lights in the car. You see lights coming on under braking, which can sometimes be a little bit distractive, but yeah, you get used to it pretty quickly.
I mean, the easy thing about this circuit is there are lots of it, even though it's quite a small circuit, it's very dark, isn't it? And other bits that are lit by the grandstand. Is that part of the challenge, or is just the challenge that there's 98, 99 other cars?
Oh, it's a big challenge, and for me always the biggest challenge is the first night stint in the race. People actually get lost on this track. In the back it's so dark, and it's all tarmac, so they brake too late, they overshoot the corner, they're off the track, and they don't know how to get back. So sometimes you see lights coming at you because they've turned around and they're coming back at you. So it's pretty hairy, pretty dangerous, but at the same time it's part of this race. So we know, yeah, we have to cope with it.
Jeroen, thank you very much. Back to your soup.
Thank you.
Yes, soup. That brings to mind actually the very great Corvette driver Ron Fellows telling me a story about when we first went to Miller Motorsport Park up in Utah for the American Le Mans Series. A very complicated, almost 5 miles around that circuit the first year that we went there, and it all looked very similar. And he said he went off twice, and both times he had to wait for someone to go past to decide which way he was supposed to be heading back onto the circuit. And quite similar here, you have to be careful. Just going back, Nick picked up there on the interior lighting. Very, very important. Had a long chat with Mark Webber last year about the Porsche 919 hybrid. And they tried all kinds of different colours of lighting inside the car to get the balance of being able to find the right switch or the right rotary dial or see the right information, Johnny, without it either A, ruining night vision, or B, shining on the windscreen or reflecting on the windscreen and causing a problem. I mean, that's a fine point that Paul made and Jeroen made earlier.
It's kind of crucial information, but it need not disrupt your rhythm and how you're racing. You know, it can't be a distraction, and yet it needs to be fed through to you in a way that you can, your brain can read it and react to it, and not to denigrate, you know, how you're attacking the race, I suppose. But it's a delicate balance, and you need to, team managers and designers of the heads-up display need to talk to the drivers and say, how is it best displayed to you?
Yeah, and that's the thinking behind a great race car. Bruce Jones is going to pick up some more interviews for us. Another refugee from single-seater racing, Connor de Phillippi, is down in the pit lane with Bruce.
Well, Connor's been here before. He knows this track well, but of course he doesn't know the new Audi very well. And you've just been talking about the level of lighting inside the car. Connor, how good is it for you? Are you going to find out now whether you can see the switches when you're out of the dark back part of the circuit?
No, the new Audi LMS R8 is quite amazing. They definitely have done a great job on the inside, and you can see everything very well. It has a black light and everything. We have nice yellow taping, reflective tape, so you can definitely read all the buttons and switches quite easily, which makes it a lot less stressful at night when you want to adjust something or have some extra information.
Now, of course, talking of new cars, there's the new Mercedes here, but this new Audi, looking at the qualifying times, Land Motorsport, your crew went really well, but Audi looking very good at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, the car has definitely proven itself. You know, they already have a year under their belt with the new car, so I think it definitely has showed that. You know, we're all pushing our hardest and working our best, and I think we're all working together. It's our first weekend together as a team, so we're still learning ourselves, but we're definitely happy with our first performance of the year.
And getting to start your racing season in January, it's quite good. You don't have to wait so long after New Year. But where's your next race after here? Are you doing Daytona?
The plan is to do Daytona, probably in a Porsche, but you know, you never know. I'll definitely also be at Sebring as well, so definitely the next couple months are pretty busy.
Good stuff. Best of luck. That's car 28 and driver Connor de Phillippi.
And that was Bruce Jones for us down in the pit lane, live from Dubai Autodrome. Hello there, if you are just joining us, it's Johnny Palmer, Bruce Jones, Nick Damon, Paul Truswell and me, John Hindhoff, as well as the editor of dailysportscar.com, Graham Goodwin, providing you with the full live coverage across this first of our international endurance weekends in the FIA Endurance Series. International Endurance Series brought together, a loose collection of events were brought together as a championship for the first time last year under the auspices of Creventic, and they've added to it this year with additional events, including a 24-hour race for touring cars at Silverstone in the UK, 1st, 2nd and 3rd of April, which we are all very excited about. It's close to home for many of us, a circuit we know well. It's also a track that is very, very good for endurance racing. It's very, very dark as well, and 80 cars can start that race, and Creventic have told us that 76 places have been taken, 74, 76 that have been taken up.
Do you think that was part of the plan to get over the darkness of Silverstone, was by having just so many cars that the cars themselves light it up? Absolutely.
I like it. I like your thinking behind that.
I mean, that's happening here. I mean, we saw some lovely shots just now from inside the, I think it was the Roald Goethe car, and it was a lovely shot there, and you saw just how dark it was out on the circuit.
And just how busy it is. If you're watching the screens at the moment, the track map, the petrol station right in the middle of the start-finish straight with a little red petrol pump, everybody filing in there who hasn't filled up yet.
It's like your local supermarket on a Saturday morning, isn't it? There is no space there. It's going to be double parking, and well,
not everybody's on the track.
Just remember, people, the hose stretches to the other side of the car. You don't need to get to pull into the right right bay.
And the reason behind that as well, if you haven't watched this before, this type of Creventic racing before, is that there's no refueling in the pit lane. It is very busy in the pit lane, and that means that you only need one of your pit lane crew in full fireproofs, the one that does the refueling, of course. Of different solutions being employed on the cars for identification, including some flashing lights that I haven't seen before.
Very, very busy part of the track now for the 30 Ram Racing Mercedes to negotiate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars up ahead, and they're all of varying classes, so speed differential rather different for each. And when you're in the quicker class, the A6 Pro and amateur cars, it's these cars you're going to come across at a rapid rate of knots, not only during the night practice, but of course during the race from tomorrow.
Yeah, it's noticeable just how dark it is inside that cockpit, though, isn't it? Even though we saw that, for a shot that it was the Ram racing car.
Yeah.
Once the car got into the dark, there was no light. There's no indication there that is the Ram racing car. Roald Goethe behind the wheel at the moment doing a good job, but nowhere near as quick as his more illustrious teammates.
You're right, but that's the way I'd like it, because I think about driving down country lanes where you're reliant on your headlights. The last thing you want is an interior light on, because that's massively distracting. So the darker it is in the cabin, for me, the better. And
it's like turning your sat-nav into the nighttime colours rather than having a big bright screen right in front of you that completely takes your attention and, of course, ruins your night vision. Top of the Burj Al Arab, we can see that about from where we can with the cameras. Seriously, even with my binoculars, I cannot see that anywhere near as well as what our very high-tech cameras can do. And say thank you in advance to all of our camera operators. They are doing a cracking job now, and they have a lot of work ahead of them on Friday and Saturday. It does get very cold overnight here, so I hope they've got some warm clothing. Or, to crack a very old joke, if they haven't got any warm clothing, put some cold clothing in the oven and warm it up. That's an old Goons joke. Very old indeed. Oh, big sideways moment there for... this is the Ram car, isn't it, that is so dark. No, it's V8 Racing's car, that actually coming around the final corner. So that was the V8 Racing machine. So close to pole position, best of the non-Audis in the Corvette.
So if that was Pastorelli, he just headed over the line to do the car's best time in the session, to put it 5th quickest, the treble 3 Chevrolet Corvette, 2:04.8 for Pastorelli, Dutchman.
Hubert Haub with the fastest time at the moment, or at least in the car with the fastest time at the moment here at Dubai.
And I think it was Hubert who actually set that time.
So it is Dubai Autodrome and our night practice as the cars get out there trying to get up to speed in the darkness hours here. They will have plenty of that over the weekend. A techno rating Porsche, that very distinctive nighttime lighting inside the car. Not quite lighting up the Attempto on the right-hand side. And the LCD screen right in front of the driver. The 999 car getting there as fast as it possibly can, of course. 26. Oh, off the circuit for a moment there. And he's got back on. Let's head down to the pit lane. Nick Damon, the temperature should be far better for him. And let's have a driver's eye view of what's going on.
Here we can see something very interesting. Not an interview, but if you look back there, we have the car that I think won the Gulf 12 Hours, the number 2 car. It's no longer a car that is being used just as a demonstration. It's going to be rebuilt and become the 16, the Phoenix from the Flame after the fire this morning. They've obviously got the special dispensation they required, and that machine will be built up overnight and will take its place, I expect, at the back of the grid, maybe at the back of the A6 class. But it's good news for the drivers of the 16, which obviously includes last year's winners, Ollie Webb. And if he hadn't disappeared, I'd be talking to him right now. Thanks, John.
It's Nick Damon down there in the Black Falcon pit. That car was on display at the back of the paddock this morning. Graham Goodwin, editor of dailysportscar.com, has joined us. Precedent for changing chassis here, and after the fire damage on the other Black Falcon car, the 16 car, no choice really. There was no way they were going to get that built. The fire was so intense, actually, it melted the windscreen, the carbon, plasticized windscreen on that car.
It did. It was a real mess, and driver lucky to get away unscathed there. We've still not got an absolute explanation as to what went on, but we do know the car was on its outlet. We presume, therefore, had been to the fueling point. So one could only surmise, because it happened 4 corners after that, that something was awry when the car left the fueling point. But we don't like to see cars on fire at any point. That was a big fire, and it was a sustained fire at that, and clearly fuel fed. But it's lucky that it's happened to one of the teams that happens to have a spare car available, because not only do we not like to see cars on fire, we don't like to see cars withdrawn from races either.
And do we think that that is the car that won this race 12 months ago then? It's in the same livery and the same car number, I guess, number 2. We haven't looked at chassis numbers, but
it's possible. It's equally possible they could have actually put that livery on as because of that. We can certainly go and have a chat with Jean-Paul Breslin.
It was one of the 2 cars that they ran all that last year, and it was one of the 2 cars they had at the Abu Dhabi 12 Hours that we were at, Johnny, in mid-December. Our off-season stretching all the way from December the 15th to January the 8th or 9th, whatever it was, before we set off out to here. It really is a 12-month season now for endurance racing, if you so desire. As Khaled Al Qubaisi has now jumped into the number 2 car. He's just crossed the line, and a 2:01.6 the best for that car. We're going to have to get used to identifying these cars, gentlemen, from the onboards and the different lighting configurations. It helps to have the numbers on the inside of the windows. Of course, the Attempto Motorsport 999 car just cruising around at the moment. It's Rolf Voigtlander at the wheel of that car in 13th position in class and 30th position overall.
An answer to a question that someone asked me on Twitter a little while ago. The Attempto cars are an older spec of Porsche 911 GT3R, GT3 spec Porsches, not the brand new cars we saw for the first time in public at Daytona, the Raw test last week. We'll see them again racing, of course, in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, excited to be going out to that again. A ridiculously busy opening to the endurance racing season that sees 2 24-hour races and a 12-hour race on 3 different continents, literally on opposite sides of the world, over a space of 4 weeks.
4 weekends.
Yeah.
Not even 4 weeks. It's 3 weeks in between them.
With Bathurst, the Liqui Moly Bathurst 12 Hours being the 3rd race. So it's this weekend we have the Hankook 24 Hours here in Dubai. Then 2 weeks away we have Daytona, and then the very next weekend the circus moves to the other side of the world to Mount Panorama and Bathurst for the Liqui 12 hours, which I noticed Bentley have shown off in public their livery.
They have.
For the first time. We were privileged to see that in December, of course, at the end of season roundup of Bentley racing last year, and they will be going back to the mountain to try and win that very much a developing race, sort of in the same sort of area as this race was, what, 2 or 3 years ago.
Well, I think this has been the trailblazer, to be honest with you.
I agree.
The Dubai 24 Hours is a trailblazer of what you can do in terms of building a profile, building an audience, and building a grid. And boy, have they done it. And, you know, here we are. This is a very significant car we've got here right now. This is the number 3 car. And there you go. Just get a sense there, John. The purple, that I think is the black light that we talked about. As the driver turns the wheel now, you should just get a hint of the purple on the wheel.
Ah, right. If you say so.
There's a flash of purple in the rear view mirror.
That's the Black Falcon. Yeah, that's the Black Falcon car. The number panels placed on the roof of that, the Black Falcon Mercedes. Now that is the newer of the 2 Mercedes-Benz.
Yep.
The GT.
I think we might call that one an AMG as opposed to an SLS. That makes life a bit easier. There you go. That's an SLS.
That's got gull-wing doors, so immediately you know.
It's an SPS SLS.
SPS SLS AMG GT3.
Let's head down into the pit lane to Joe Bradley, who joins us this evening. Good evening, Joe. And he is with, well, once again, it's someone who has some single-seater background as well as endurance racing. Alex Tagliani is with him.
I am indeed with Alex Tagliani. Alex, good to see you here in Dubai. A face and a name we are more familiar with in American single-seater racing, but you've got to love this place and this type of racing, haven't you?
Yeah, it's amazing, and honestly, I'm really thankful to be here. It's really nice in the winter to get the rust out of you. So, what a great place to be in a race car, and what a great series. You know, great cars, good-looking cars, a lot of competition. So, I'm looking forward to do some more endurance racing.
And you're in the number 72 Porsche. How familiar are you with the Porsche?
Yeah, it's my first time in the car. But no, the team is fantastic. You know, HRT, they bought some new cars this year, so the 911 are new for them, and it's just big learning curve. You know, when you're used to downforce and you take away all the downforce, it's not good for us. But I love sports car racing. I've done some NASCAR racing lately for Team Penske. So if I can do more sports car racing and do all the endurance racing, that would be my dream, and just get better at it.
I have noticed, Alex, that you are, the team looks like they're milking all your experience from the kind of body language I can see.
Yeah, I mean, it's a learning curve for everybody, just the structure, you know, how to run, you know, with 5 drivers, you know, making sure everybody works together, learning the car, changing the car, doing everything right. I mean, there's so much really good team here and competitive team, and when you go out there and you compete with the best, you need to be really at the best. And so, you know, if we can do some more things like this together, I think we're going to get better at it, and less mistakes, you know, stay out of trouble in the 24 hours. Maybe we can do very well.
Great to talk to you, Alex. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you.
Alex Tagliani with Joe Bradley there. A race has broken out on the circuit as the 2 Mercedes-Benz, one of the GT and one of the SLS.
That's one of the GT
variety
cars. That's the Presti Spark car on the inside there, and it was a bit of a drag race. Not much in it in straight line speed, but got him under braking pretty easily.
Tagliani's done some American sports car racing. Did some PC drives and a couple of GT drives as well, hasn't he, down through the years?
Did he feature at all in the Jaguar programme?
Yes, he did, and of course he drove for Paul Gentilotti's Rocket Sports PC team as well, and well remembered. And clearly a man who just enjoys his motor racing. This part of the world is beginning to attract a number of racing drivers to come and stay in the off-season. I know Fernando Alonso spent some time out here, among others. Haven't seen Fernando here, but I would have no doubt if he has no other engagements for McLaren, who, by the way, if you haven't been keeping up to date, McLaren have just signed up George Capito, who, among other things, used to be the director of Ford's rally program, although he's done pretty much every part of motorsport. In fact, I think he also did a short time with Sauber in Formula 1. But if Fernando is not busy, I would be surprised if he's not here, to be honest.
Yeah, we were saying a little earlier, John, about this rather extraordinary kind of glut of endurance racing we've got in late January and into early February. Probably the extraordinary thing is not only is it 3 substantial races, they're on 3 different continents, none of them Europe.
Yes. Well, yes and no, because in January, where you're going to go in Europe, you have to go right to the southern borders of Europe to get any chance of decent weather, and even then, that would be marginal.
Yeah. Should say I'm not complaining.
No.
It is.
No.
Awesome.
I've just had a text from my father at home telling me it's snowing up in Sunderland in the northeast at the moment. So
hello, Tony, and a happy New Year.
Yes. You need to come out here next year, big fella. You'd enjoy it.
He would.
He certainly would. And plus, it would be he could do the Paul Dunk role. He's very good at organising stuff.
He could appraise the Dubai police force's fleet of police cars.
Fast response vehicles. Yes, he wouldn't get bored with that at all. There's one of them in it, I'm sure. There's a Lamborghini in the possibly very wide there in a Porsche. That's turn 4, 5 and 6. And that is the problem there. If you get off the road, you get out of sync with the circuit. It's still the number 2 Mercedes-Benz, by the way, with the fastest time, a 2:01.6. Not bad in the dark, 2:02 flat for the 33 car collection Audi R8. The Chevrolet V8 Racing is in 3rd position, as it qualified earlier on today at the daylight with a 2:04.4. Remember, the top dozen cars were under 2 minutes when we qualified earlier on this afternoon. The best non-GT3 car, the best of the non-A6 class cars, is the Black Falcon 61 Porsche, leading the 991 class. The next class leader is the SP2 leader, and that is one of the Mark Cars Australia machines. It's the 92 car that leads that in SP3. Century Motorsports Ginetta number 230, along with the Nathan Frigg 229, separated by just 0.3 of a second in 36th and 37th, 212.6 and 212.9. They're the SP3 leaders. A3 is the Seat Leon, the RTG by Gladys. That is the Jersey Dutech driven car, or at least among the driving talent. And again, look at the inset if you're watching us on TV or online, because we still haven't got everybody on the track yet. There's still a few people sitting in pit lane.
Looks a bit like a virus, doesn't it? It's astonishing.
It's just extraordinary.
Looks like someone stirring soup.
Very hypnotic.
You can get that on your iPhone.
Can you?
GPS Alga has something called, I forgot exactly what it's called. It's on this piece of paper. It's available from the app store. Right. And it's GPS Alga, which is German for GPS eyes.
Alga.
Yes.
I see.
GPS over IP, it's called.
The pit lane entrance has claimed the 47 GTL 997 Cup SP2 Porsche off to driver's right. It's not in the way, and the regulations here for recovery are somewhat unusual if you are, for example, an FIA or an ACO racing devotee, because not only is it allowed to have cars pulled back here, it's positively encouraged. Keep the cars, as many cars in the race for as long as you can.
That 47 car, Johnny, the car that had the lurid spin we saw a replay, didn't we?
Just the word I was going to use.
Very scary for the 47, same driver, I'm afraid.
Lim Keong Liam still at the wheel, and well, he's got out in between times, I'm sure, but yeah, very nearly cleaned out another 991 Cup class car in that spin during qualifying. Thankfully, he kept it out of the wall and kept it out of anybody else's path too, and that car has crawled to a halt, tantalisingly close to the pit lane, but ain't going to make it in there.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate, but there are a number of snatch vehicles with tow ropes. It has all four wheels rather, in the right place. No doubt that it will be able to be pulled back. There's one of the Mark cars, the Focus version of the Mark Cars Australia, just heading into the darkness ahead of our camera car, which is, that's one of the Porsches, isn't it? That's the, oh no, it's not, it's the 28 car. That is our Land Motorsport Audi.
Front row starter for tomorrow.
Yeah, that was a great qualifying for Audi into the pit lane, and indeed one of the pickups already on driver's right there, about to pull the errant Porsche back into the pit lane. Pit lane speed limit starting just before the right-hander that leads onto the pit lane, as the Lamborghini number 12 comes in as well. That's the canary yellow and green coloured car of Leopard Motorsport. Still 1 hour and 20 minutes to go here at Dubai. Yellow flag is waving out on the circuit, Graham.
That's for the 47. Just
Right.
withdrawn now.
Excellent.
The car gets into pits in.
Land Motorsport doing a little bit of work on their Audi. The front bodywork has been lifted. Now, there's not very much under there.
Christopher Mies just going in through the right-hand side of the car. There's still something very magical about racing at night, isn't there? That is what I meant by the purple.
That's the purple in on the drivers. Oh, he's gone off there. It was very late. How quickly did that change down? That was turn 14, fifth down to second, and I honestly thought he was going to spear off into the darkness. Fifth down to second in, well, 3 flicks of a finger, but the braking performance of that number 3 Mercedes-Benz, and it's Al Faisal at the wheel of that at the moment, Abdulaziz Al Faisal. That was quite extraordinary.
You thought he was off, didn't you?
Oh, I thought he was off in a very big way.
But then the turning point, you can elect to go through that corner and turn in very late to find the apex, and actually the speed through the corner was pretty good. Again, the sparks, this time coming from the AMG. We saw it on the SLS earlier on today, but the 3 car is clearly running very low with the ride height. And the SLS GT is, well, spectacular in the daytime, spectacular at night as well.
Exhaust glowing on the side of the car.
And very interesting to see how hard these guys are actually pushing, even in these practice sessions here at Dubai.
And down in the pit lane with one of the favourites of the Creventic rivals, is Liessa Bleekemolen. Liessa, it's fantastic to see you at the race meeting. You've had a very difficult year. I don't know how much, but how are you feeling?
Yeah, great. The adrenaline in the car, it really makes me feel better. And in the car, I'm not sick, so top.
So what you're basically saying is you advise becoming a racing driver to anyone who's not feeling too well.
I'm sorry?
You advise racing for anyone who's getting better.
It's better in the race car than in my bed, so it's okay, so yeah.
With Bonk Motorsport, the 145, we're of course used to see with the racing divas. Where are the rest of the girls from Holland?
Yeah, we tried to come back next year as our 5th edition, but we will try to come back with the same 5 girls we started with. So let's see what next year will bring then.
The Cup class, always competitive. Where do you think you stand? Do you think you're going to have a chance of getting on the podium again?
Well, it's going to be tough because Max Partel, one of our teammates from last year from the Racing Divas and me, he's on the 2nd position now. So I know the 1st position must really be very good. And we are driving with 5 drivers in 1 car, and 2 of them don't even know the track. So it's going to be very difficult. But my aim is podium. But I already won since I've been here, so I'm cool.
Fantastic, thank you, Liessa. And those who don't know, Liessa actually having a very brave battle with cancer this year, and we think things are going very well. Thank you, Liessa.
best wishes to Lisette, and great to get the Racing Divas back together next year. Hello to Richard Maiden, Dickie Maiden, listening in back in the UK. Also to Josh Barrett, he has a question for Paul Trustwell, which I'll fire in quickly. Pit stops, Paul. We're often used to seeing things being broken down and you can only do certain things at the same time. It's a little different here with fueling being elsewhere. Can you change tyres and driver at the same time?
Yes, you can. You can do pretty much anything to the car, including all kinds of gearbox changes. You can change the gearbox itself, you can change the engine if you feel so minded to do, and that's actually during the race. So as you were saying earlier on, John, a lot of the emphasis is on keeping cars running, and in a way you've got to hand it to them. I mean, the drivers are here to race. For the spectators who are here, they'd far rather see a busy racetrack on Saturday afternoon than have half the cars already packed in their containers and ready to go home. So it's good if they can keep as many cars as possible running during the race itself.
Yeah, and I think we all agree with that. Charles Espinlab was getting plugged into the 78 America MRS car with the Stars and Stripes. Fantastic vinyl graphics down the side of that car. Totally transformed the profile of that Porsche Cup car. Graham Goodwin?
Am I remembering incorrectly, gentlemen? We had a Ginetta change its engine twice last year.
Yes.
I think we did.
In the race itself,
I think
that's
we
right.
did.
Yeah, absolutely.
They just wouldn't give up, would they?
Wouldn't give up.
No, there would have been a time, I think, where I might have been saying, guys, really, the crates are there, just throw it in the crates, let's start packing up. Let's get back to the hotel and have a shower. There is the... Now, is that the Soul Nissan?
It is the only Nissan this year here.
It is a full house GT3 GTR, as one of the new Audis goes around it.
Although news breaking from this paddock for the first time of confirmation that the Nissan Blancpain GT programme will continue. It's been very quiet, the Nissan news, since the withdrawal of the LMP1 machine, but believe that the extremely successful efforts of the GTR in, I guess it's Bob Neville's team once again, why wouldn't it be?
RJN, yeah.
But that will return to Blancpain GT action in 2016.
4 cars we've not seen so far in the night session, 3 of which are kind of predicted. Obviously, one's the Mercedes, that Falcon car number 16. The number 152 Sorg BMW, which we saw come back on the back of a trailer. We haven't seen that come out, and that one, again, looks quite sick, but we'll see whether or not they can get it repaired overnight. And the third car we haven't seen is the Red Camel Mark Mazda, car number 202, which was waiting for a power steering
box,
or something.
Rack.
Steering, there was a pump. Well, there's a steering rack then as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't there that they thought was going to fit from a certain BMW, and it didn't. So then they had to get on the phone again and ring another BMW dealer up, and they have found a bit there that fits. But it's a question of getting it
into the car. The fourth car, I'm pleased to say, is no longer now missing, because I shouldn't have started the sentence quite when I had. The 26 Conrad Lamborghini has only just now come out, and I think it's one of the Inaikins who's taken the wheel of that. Number 26, Rolf Inaikin, who is at the wheel of that car, and it's already now circulating reasonably quickly, I'm pleased to say.
Now, John, we were saying about those 3 early season endurance races. Well, Franz Conrad has got cars in 2 of them, and 2 cars at Daytona. So this
great to see Franz back racing in the States.
And isn't France? Yes, I mean, he's part of the driver lineup for this Lamborghini.
Always,
so,
always.
It's going to be good to get him not just as a team manager, but back in the car, along with Fabio Babini, which is always fabulous news.
Absolutely with much Lamborghini experience.
Yeah.
Certainly from 15.
Multo Lamborghini. Multo.
Now, that was the end, again, on board, and I think is that the Ram racing car? And not getting into 6th gear down the back straight, which I find slightly odd, as in comes the Lotus number 224, followed in by the number 10 Mercedes-Benz of Hofer Racing.
That's the Expo, wasn't it?
Oh, was that the Expo? Excuse me, Crossbow,
You do have to pre-program yourself to remember that car, you know, it's a strange thing. You know there's a KTM there, and I've done that more than once, John. What's that? Oh, good grief, that's what that is.
Just saw the... Oh, yes, you're absolutely... It is such a futuristic-looking thing with the canopy that slides up and back to get the driver out. Transformed from the Audi-engined crossbow, KTM crossbow, that's the open-top car, and with some very clever aero on that car, and a huge amount of carbon fibre.
Looks like you should sit dead centre in the middle of that car. It's not. It's a two-seater. But,
yes, it is.
Yeah,
and two proper seats as well, Johnny, because when we've used them on Race of Champions, you can put the passenger in there.
Yes, I've seen that. But it's impressive, as you say, and it's great to see the car now as a closed cockpit machine, which has only happened in recent years. That's one of many Lamborghini Huracans, the 26 car, which is the Conrad Motorsport machine we were just talking about.
Shouldn't forget there are two completely different types of Huracan in this race.
Yeah.
There are two GT3 cars and one Trofeo.
Yes.
It's the 12 car, I believe, that's a Trofeo car.
Correct. And I'm not sure, I don't recognise that paint job from the Super Trofeo this year in Europe, but I wonder whether it was one of the chassis that's actually been repainted, and I was interested to know who had driven that.
Are they both in A6?
Yes.
Yes, they're all in A6.
Okay.
Yes, the Lippert Motorsport car, which is the Trofeo, is an A6 AM car. Mikhail Spiridonov and Frank Leon Provost, Jean-Charles Perret.
It's Jean-Charles in the car at the moment.
That's a great pick for an A6 AM car, because it's not that far short of GT3 pace, but my God, that's a cheaper car to run.
Yeah.
And it's really comfortable to drive.
Oh, yeah.
They are fast things. We've seen them in the States this year, or last year now, as part of the IMSA package, and they sound fantastic.
John, I seem to recall those cars were at or around GT3 pace around Silverstone.
Yeah. It's all down to ride heights and tyres and a little bit of BOP, weight limits, of course. The top 22 cars are A6s. It's Abdulaziz Al Faisal in the Black Falcon Porsche, the 61 car, who's the best of the non-A6 cars, leading the Porsche category, which is termed 991, but has 997s as well in the category. But a 207.5 for that car, as against Lance David Arnold's SPS Automotive Mercedes-Benz, an A6 Pro category car, on a 207.5.
Yeah, I'm going to slightly correct you. It's his brother, Saud Al Faisal.
Oh, was it Saud Al Faisal? Excuse me.
No, that's and no mean peddler of Porsches, Saud Al Faisal. Brother, of course, won the race overall here last year. It was last year he won the race, wasn't it? It was. The V8 racing car and its new Trefoil Trading livery pulls to a stop.
Let's go down into the pit lane where Joe Bradley can give us an update on the Mark Cars Mazda, which had the steering problem. Joseph?
Yeah, I can tell you that the new steering rack, I know somebody mentioned a steering box, but that's like going back to 1954. This new steering rack is on the car. The front end of the car, which is kind of like just a bracket holding on all the radiator and some ducting for the brakes, etc. That's bolted now onto the front of the car, so the front of the car looks intact. However, it's the little niggly little bits that are now being addressed, such as the lighting connectors and what have you. And also, I think, from what I can see, there are people working on what looks like they could be bleeding the power steering system.
Yeah.
So they're probably quite close, I would say, to actually seeing this car maybe run. I mean, we've got over an hour.
Thanks, Joe. Joe Bradley down there in the pit lane. He's been able to have a very close look at the steering wheel of the Mercedes-Benz number 18. And it's relatively sort of bereft.
It's old school, is what it is.
There's no switches, dials, or...
That's a proper racing car. That's a racing car you muscle around. That is an old-fashioned
two buttons, or 2 or 3 buttons, obviously the paddle shift behind the steering wheel.
But to call your man.
Yes, one of them does. Yes, one of them does say concierge, which I thought was nice.
Riding mechanic.
2 or 3 buttons, but no circular setup type buttons, no TC, no ABS control or anything like that. And certainly, even having had a run around in an Aston Martin GT3, a Poutil with an Aston Martin GT3 at Mont Blanc last year now, that was a very, very basic steering wheel in that Mercedes-Benz.
But the reality is, for a GT3 car, they're not foolproof. These are massively powerful, massively quick race cars, but there's a lot of systems there to help the amateur drivers, because there's an awful lot of those guys out there.
So that'll be a radio, a pit lane speed limiter, probably
flash.
Flash, yeah, good call. Get the mirrors right. That's the other thing that everybody forgets. I was talking about pins out of fire extinguishers earlier on. Find out where reverse is. Has it got an interlock button? And put your mirrors right before you go out. Now, GTE cars now require the mirrors to be adjustable from the inside with the driver belted in, Graham, don't they? That's part of the regulations.
And that's, so we've got Nick de Bruin and Poojan Jin aboard that car, and those are a pair that have done a full season this year in European Le Mans Series in an Oreca P2 car, and we'll be back again next year with an Oreca 05.
I hope they don't have to do that every time they stop.
Yeah, it's not the quickest of pit stops, this, is it, really? Left a bit, right a bit, up a bit.
Well, it's the kind of thing you'd do if someone's not driven the car before.
Yes. I do like the Mercedes-Benz trefoil in carbon fibre.
Comes with a hairdryer there, look, in the middle. It's very snazzy, in the V8 Racing livery.
He's still not happy with that mirror, is he?
I wonder whether it's been damaged.
It does look as though the actual glass of the mirror is at a jaunty angle within the housing.
Sitting proud and more difficult to adjust as a result, perhaps.
So with an hour and 5 minutes to go, Connor de Phillippi is now aboard the Land Motorsport Audi and has just gone to the top of the times. A 2:01.208 puts him, which has just gone back out into the freight. The 33-car collection Audi R8 is in third. Arnold now bounces to the top in SPS Automotive's Mercedes with a 2:09.23.
The interesting thing is, John, that Lance David Arnold doing his fastest lap just a moment ago on his 14th lap, Connor de Phillippi on his 8th lap. So they've done a lot more laps in the SPS car than Land Motorsport have in their Audi R8. And in fact, as far as I remember, Connor de Phillippi is the only driver that's driven in that car, number 28. The other drivers have still got to do their laps. And as Joe told us a little while ago, we've still got over an hour of this session remaining, but not much more than that.
Let's head down to the pit lane. Thank you, Paul. Let's head to Nick Damon.
Well, next door to the mirror-troubled number 10, but driving the 333, it's Nicky Pastorelli. Nicky, you got very close to repeating your pole position.
It was very good the first half of the qualifying. We started really well. At the end, the two Audis were able to get us in the race as well. I know we have a good race pace, so I'm looking forward.
Last year you started very well, but you lost out a bit because you actually were fair and let your gentleman drivers do their drive time. Do you think with this change of rules, you've got a much better chance of winning overall this year?
You never know, but I mean, I have to say that the gentlemen this year are very quick. They're doing very well, so I think they will be a surprise for everybody tomorrow in the race.
This morning, you were down in the AM class. You've now moved to the Pro class. Was that just because you were far too quick in qualifying, or was it because you thought, no, we can do something in Pro?
Yeah, we've seen in the practice that all of the gentlemen were doing really well, and that they are able to compete in Pro. So our aim is to finish the race, and if we can finish in the top 10, we would be really happy.
It's fantastic to have a Corvette here. It's just makes any endurance race. What's the history of that particular chassis you're in, the 333?
It's chassis number 05, so it has a long history. It did Le Mans, it finished second in Le Mans if I'm right, not 100% sure. I'm sure the Corvette fans, they know exactly. And of course, it was the car that did pole position 2 years ago here in Dubai. So.
Thanks, Nicky, and I've got a sneaky feeling we're going to be talking to you a lot more tomorrow. Thanks, mate.
Thank you.
So Graham Goodwin was right. It was the car that was here a couple of years ago, and it was a GT1 car. It was a GTE car, yeah.
In which case, it's GTE car.
Sorry, GT1 car.
It's
yeah.
the GT1 car and it's the one that was here 2 years ago. It is a Spa 24 Hours overall winner.
Wow.
And I think that's the car that won with Marcel Fessler aboard.
Oh, okay. And Marcel off doing some extracurricular driving
with Corvette.
Yes, with Corvette, exactly right.
What goes around, comes around.
It's the Dubai 24 Hours, the Hankook Dubai 24 Hours for 2016. We're in night practice. We've got just on an hour to go. All shapes and sizes of cars from the world of motorsport, endurance racing and touring cars. Aston Martin represented here. And they've had a reasonable crack at this over there. We haven't seen the works guys here for a couple of years, Graham, but I'm sure with the rise and rise of GT3, it won't be long before we see an Aston Martin at the sharper end of the field.
I'm sure we will. It's not the point, really, from listening to Nicky Pastorelli and Nick talking there about the car, and when you start to refer to cars in the way that you do, this one is 05. You know, these cars have got an identity. These cars mean something to a lot of people in a big worldwide community. To see that old girl still hammering away down there, and coming very close to a pole position against brand new factory-backed GT3 cars, that's magnificent.
The purple black light shining gently on the interior of our camera car there.
Now all of a sudden we get a rather better view, don't we?
Yeah. Now that is open face Stilo helmet.
Glasses.
Alpine Stars gloves. Anybody want to take a guess? It is the 67 car, because we've zoomed in on it. That's brilliant, guys. I love you doing that. So that's Ivo Briches.
It's got the rear camera.
Yeah, and it's got the rear camera with the parking lines on it still, which I love that. I think that's brilliant. Sheer genius. So that is the Mercedes-Benz of the SLS variety. There it is, confirmation from the outside, peeling into pit lane, past the red-white marker, brake. You're already into the pit lane. Joe Bradley has an update on the 22 Mercedes-Benz.
I'm not sure if you guys seen anything what occurred with the 22 Mercedes. That's the Jones car. It's a car full of people called Jones. David Jones was at the wheel of the car, and he's brought the car in, and it's being checked over because he's had it coming together out on the circuit. Visually, though, the car looks completely unscathed. However, what they're doing with the car now is they're putting it on the setup bed and checking the alignment. So I did speak to David, however, I couldn't really broadcast what he said to me.
Okay, traffic issues then for the Pressy Spark Mercedes-Benz and the Jones family outing.
All of the Jones have been out in it except for Godfrey, though. So they've had a busy night, but they've done what they've needed to do.
Regulations, Paul, about people having to drive in the nighttime practice? 2
laps per driver in the nighttime in order to qualify. If you don't do your 2 laps, then you have to take a piece of paper with a note from your mum explaining why along to the Creventic officers.
With an apple for teacher.
And they will take a view.
Right. But at the very least, you're not going to be allowed to drive in the dark, are you?
That's the worst that can... Well, the worst can happen is they won't let you drive at all. But the better option is they'll say you can drive during the daytime, not at night. But depending who you are, then they may just say that's fine.
Yeah, because of previous experience.
Stuff like that.
The guys at Creventic debuting this weekend a new fast-track driver registration system, which I think is brilliant. If you're a full-season entrant and you register, put a few euros down, then you're allowed to jump the queue at registration. Indeed, there's a special line for you at driver registration. And a bit like those of you travelling in and out of the States, like TSA pre-approved, you don't have to unpack your race bag and have your kit bag and all of your driving gear looked at. It's looked at once at the start of the season. A sticker is put on it, and it is assumed that you are sensible enough to bring the right gear. And it has a sticker on, so it can easily be verified should it need to be. And talk to Peter Cox about this. It's a very excellent catering here that is organised for all of the teams. And he was saying he loves the idea. Why didn't it happen years ago? The amount of time that you're hanging around waiting to get pieces of paper signed and bit scrutinised.
Not the first time we've heard that response to something that happens first.
No, absolutely.
Or the second, or the third.
So we're just under the hour mark. It is still the SPS Automotive Mercedes-Benz with a 2 minutes .9, the 27 car from Land Motorsports Audi, the 28. Abu Dhabi Racing's Mercedes, the 2 car in third place position. Then the 999 of the Attempto Racing Porsche. That is a really good run, 202 flat for those guys. Car Collection 33 is in 5th and just up to 6th. The first time we've mentioned this name this week, Bernd Schneider for Black Falcon has been conspicuous by his absence in pit lane, just keeping a low 1. But a 2:02.3 has put that car up into 6th place with exactly 56 minutes remaining in the session. The class, well, we've now got 25 of the top 27. In fact, the top 25 are all now GT3 cars. It's still the 61 Black Falcon ahead of the Speed Lover Porsche. The 2 Porsches, 61 and 85 in the 991 and SP2 categories, are fastest in their classes at the moment. And then it's down to 45th position with Optimum's Ginetta, best in SP2, and an awful lot of very good machinery on that first page of the timing and scoring, which you can follow along with at the 24H series website.
Just the thought suddenly occurred, which are the ones that aren't in the train for A6? There are 3 of them. They're all on the second screen. It's the Conrad Lamborghini is out of sequence. That kind of problem, didn't it?
Yeah, it came out very late in the session, Paul, didn't it?
That's right, yes. I was about to say it was one of the 4 cars we'd not seen, and they decided to bring it out. So Rolf Eichen has done very few laps in that car. OK,
and then the other 2 that are out of sequence for the A6, the GT3 or close enough to it, are the number 45 car. That's the Althea Sport Porsche in 41st position, ahead of the Renault, the RS01. So just dropped down to 43rd position.
Which in a sense is okay, because the GT America isn't quite a proper GT3 car anyway.
Well, it's not
just
at all,
doesn't
absolutely.
It doesn't fit anywhere else. And we've already said that the Renault is not a proper GT3 car.
Correct.
So
I don't have a problem with that, Paul. I think
it kind of fits, even though they're in AE6, they're not proper GT3 cars, but they can't really be anywhere else.
Just 20 of the GT Americas built converted cup cars rather than a motorsport built chassis of, say, the Attempto cars.
Yeah, it's not a GT3 car. It's not the same chassis.
No, not anywhere near it.
No.
So Paul is absolutely right.
And one of the things that Creventic tried to do is to avoid having a large number of classes, you'll laugh, but a large number of classes with only 2 or 3 cars in them. So whereas in past years we've had A5, we've had SPX, we haven't
diesel
got
classes.
There aren't enough of them to warrant having them in their own class, so they get lumped into another class in which they don't perhaps belong, but at least we then get a big class.
The Porsche, the Althea car, is the one that I would question, which is, I wonder why that's not an SP2 with the older GT3 cars.
OK, it's reasonable, Graham. Well, the headlights streaming down the front straight for the last 52.5 minutes of nighttime practice here. The grid is set. Audi's locking out the front row, something we've never said here before at the Hankook 24 Hours of Dubai. First round of the International Endurance Series powered by Hankook that will take the teams to Mugello for the next round. There's a 24-hour race, of course, at Catalunya, Circuit de Catalunya, Barcelona. Also at Paul Ricard. A 24-hour touring car race at Silverstone. And another great season in prospect with over 30 cars already, 30 teams signed up for the full season. And that, to me, is quite extraordinary. And the small dedicated team at Krevennik deserve our congratulations for that. No doubt at all. We'll go down to the pit lane in just a moment's time, and the car that we're on board with at the moment will be coming into the pit lane as well. The fuel low warning light flashing behind the steering wheel. No rear lights on the 126. Is that a Renault Clio from memory?
Yeah, correct. So
he has to come into the pit lane, where we will find Nick Damon luxuriating in the warm evening air here at the Dubai Autodrome.
Well, they've got the biggest garage in the entire event, but you can't be bothered. Both cars given up, Matt. You're in the 8A. What is it? You just want to get an early night, get a couple of beers?
No, well, there won't be any beers drunk. Maybe some USN hydration aid and some sports drinks, and it'll be early to bed. No, I mean, we've all done our mandatory laps at night. Check the lights are okay, the car feels good, so we've decided to park it. I mean, with 100 cars out there, it's pretty difficult, it's pretty risky. Obviously, we're going to have to drive 12 hours of the night tomorrow, so we're all quite comfortable. The car feels good, and we've decided to park it so that we're in at least a good position to start the race tomorrow.
Triple 8 cars moved into the pro class over the course of the weekend. What was the cause of that decision?
It's a bit of a strange one, actually. They changed the rules this year, and in the AM class it means that your amateur or bronze rated drivers have to do 12 hours of the race. They have to do 6 hours each. In my opinion, it's not a great rule from Preventive, because it puts some amateur drivers under pressure. We have 2 amateur drivers in our car, and it would mean they'd have to do 6 hours each. Now, when I drive the car, a professional, or any professional drives the car, we can drive it with a certain amount of our mental capacity. For an amateur to drive the car, they're using a lot more than mental capacity. So, of an hour stint, they're using more energy. And I know that, if I do 6 or 8 hours in a 24-hour race, I'm flattened at the end of it. I've done up to 12, but it's really difficult. So it's really to not put our amateurs, who are both going really well, actually, Khaled and John are going really, really fast, but we didn't want to put them in a situation where they didn't feel comfortable to go out, but because of the rules say you've got to drive to make them go out in the pro class, which really actually is a pro-am class, it means that the minimum driving time that they have to do is 2 hours each. The plan is they will drive a lot more than that, but we didn't want to be in a position where we had no choice but put them in the car when they were uncomfortable. And as far as Alex and I in the car, we're very quick, and we can run up at the front of the grid anyway. So.
Yes, of course, you're driving this ropey old Ferrari against all these brand new GT3 cars. Do you think that actually that's an advantage when the other cars are so early in their development cycle?
And it's a difficult one. The 458's been a fantastic GT3 car, and I say it's been because it really is the past tense. I've done a lot of work with Ferrari Michelotto on the 488, and it's an amazing car, and it's what I expect all the new generation of GT3 cars are. I mean, from our point of view, with this car, we've actually been really quick all weekend. I was 5th quickest in the unofficial practice. I was 2nd quickest this morning. We made a misstep, and I was a bit unlucky with traffic and qualifying, so I'm only 11th, but I think I'm 6th quickest again now. So there's still a lot of speed in the old girl, and, I think on a lap time, the new cars are faster, no doubt. With reliability, this has done many 24-hour races now, the 458, so we're confident, and I'm super confident with this team as well.
You're obviously one of the lucky ones who's driven the 488. Where is its advantage over the old car, especially considering it's all supposed to be a bit of a BOP, and you get a better car that just bung some more weight on it, wouldn't they? Yeah,
I mean, that's what BOP is for sure, but the kind of progression in GT3 cars has been incredible. It's been phenomenal. So it'll get to a point where maybe at the end of this year, early next year, that you'd have to run a 458 absolutely with no ballast, no restrictor, no anything, to keep up with a heavily BOP'd new generation GT3 car. So, it's just natural progression and development. I would say the 488's better in every area, actually. But it's what you'd expect. They've had many years, we've had many years with the 458, both in GT3 and GTE forms. So Ferrari and Michelotto have learnt a lot. And, you know, any slight downside or disadvantage this car has, they've tried to fix it on the 488, and it really is fantastic and looks great too. So.
Of course, however good your car is, you've got to get past 99 others, often on the same lap.
Yeah, I love this race. I think it adds something very, very different compared to any other 24-hour race in the world. You know, Le Mans, Daytona, I've done them all. This race is totally unique because it's traffic management. You know, this is my 7th time doing this race, and the first couple of times I hit cars, you know. But you learn, and you learn to drive this race differently and approach it differently. And if you need to lose a second and a half in a corner to remove any risk from having any sort of contact with a slower car, be it your fault or theirs, you have to do it. And, you know, Dragon Racing with our car proved it last year. You know, we were in the AM class, and the team did an amazing job. The drivers did a fantastic job, and we finished, you know, 3rd overall and won our class. The aim will be the same. We're in the pro class, but my my ethos on the race is going to be exactly the same as it was last year. The difference will be is every 4th or 5th lap I won't have to back off in the last sector. So, but yeah, it's definitely a unique race and a huge challenge for the drivers.
Matt, thanks very much. Enjoy your energy drinks. It'll be a great evening. Thanks, mate.
Thanks.
Thrapston's former fastest resident of Thrapston, now back in Ireland. Matt Griffin, one of the busiest GT drivers on the planet, and very well thought of at Ferrari. As you heard him saying, they're developing a lot of work developing the 488 GT3 and GTE car. Interesting what they said tactically there about changing into the pro category. Actually takes the pressure off the AM drivers. Nicky Pastorelli confirming, Alex McDonald just asking this, that the 333 Corvette is also into the A6 Pro, not the AM category, which basically, Graham, gives you the opportunity to manage your drivers in a different way.
Push, just keep pushing. You know, push to the point where you're comfortable to push. Don't give them the pressure of having to manage that bracket time, because there clearly is some pressure there, and you know, it's only a mistake you're allowed to make so many times before it starts to have a dramatic effect on the race. And if you know, Nicky Pastorelli was saying earlier that clearly they're very confident about the not just the pace but the consistency of their gentlemen drivers, then actually it's the sensible move to make.
Well, the other aspect of it is, Graham, that as Matt was just referring to, they've introduced specific driving time requirements for Class A6, which are different in A6 Pro and A6 AM, such that if you're running in A6 AM, your AM drivers have to drive 50% of the race.
Yeah.
And if you've only got 2 of them, then that's basically giving a quarter of the race to 2 of your drivers, whereas in the Pro class, the pro drivers have a maximum of 50% of the race that they can do amongst themselves. But pro is defined as platinum and gold quality drivers. And in, for example, the 888 car, the Matt Griffin car, Matt Griffin's the only pro of the team, because Alex Capadia is a silver.
Yeah, very good silver.
So classic classes as a semi-pro as far as the Creventic regulations are concerned.
A number of people, including Johannes Skoglika. Hello, Johannes. Nice to know you're tuned in, asking about the opportunity for a 24-hour series Creventic race in the United States. We passed that on to the organisers, and they have tweeted back, we're always looking for new venues and new opportunities. You never know.
The Dutch are coming. The Dutch are coming.
They're good, and people like it. A lot of people commenting on that fast track driver registration who were involved in motor racing in various parts of the world. There is the 28 car out in the darkness, the big bright number 2, the red number 2 on the side says that is second in the timing and scoring at the moment, just under 3/10 away from the fastest time of the night, 2 minutes 0.9, 2:08 last time around for that car. It does have a very distinctive profile, that new Audi, doesn't it?
It does. Very Stormtrooper's helmet
Yes,
like.
that's
It really,
exactly
really
what
does.
I was thinking.
The thought occurs, you were saying
Darth
about listeners and viewers commenting on that fast track, John. There's a general principle that's applied to most of the changes that have been made by Gravontic to their rule set, the rule book. And that is, if it's safety critical, do something sensible that makes a positive difference, make it very clear why you're doing that, and make it very clear that you're going to check, but after that, it's on trust. But if you're caught abusing that trust, you're going to get hammered. And that's quite right. Code 60, by the way, what a pertinent time for that to happen.
I suspect this is just for training purposes, because they did announce in the driver's briefing that there would be a practice Code 60 during night practice. They had one during the pre-practice session, and I suspect that this is really to check the procedure works in the night time.
And if you haven't seen this before, think of this as a virtual safety car, to put it into other terms that other motor racing fans might understand.
Full course yellow.
A full course yellow without a safety car being on the track.
And John, just for a moment, so where did this fantastic idea first come from? Was it perhaps Formula One? Was it the WEC?
No, it came
from Le
from
Mans 24 Hours.
It came from
Holland, wasn't it?
Dutch supercars and Belgian supercars, and here in this championship, basically everybody goes to 60 kilometres an hour, which is handy because the pit lane speed limit is 60 kilometres an hour. So if you want to,
That's 40.
It's 40 now. Is
40 in the pit lane, 20 in the fueling, and 60 for a Code 60. So
right. So you can set the pit lane speed limit, a type button for it if you want to, or basically it's timed because it's 60 kilometres an hour. This is whatever the length of the circuit is. It's an easy piece of arithmetic to do, and you don't overtake, you don't close up, you don't lose time. There's no bunching of cars, and again, as we've seen in the World Endurance Championship this year that uses a modified sort of system for this, is the advantage is you don't have to wait for a safety car to pick up the leader. You don't have to wait for a safety car to cross the line. You neutralise the racing quicker and you get back to green flag racing quicker. There's not a lot wrong with it. It's not perfect, but there's not a lot wrong with it. And that, in a nutshell, is Code 60. I'm not sure. There's a couple of things that we've seen in the past, isn't there, about Code 60, Paul, that not everybody's 60 kilometres is the same as everyone else's.
That's part of the trouble, and I hope it was made clear in the driver's briefing. I wasn't there, but I hope it was made clear under what circumstances you can overtake on a Code 60. Because if there's a car in front of you doing 20, then you need to be able to get past it in order that your 60 kilometres an hour can continue. The other thing that's new for this year is the rules for pit lane entry. Pit lane stays open throughout a Code 60. The only thing that changes is that your refueling limit is half of what it would have been. Everybody has a different refueling limit anyway, as part of the balancing of performance. But what they do is if you come in under Code 60, then you can't refuel all of that amount because obviously you're going to gain an advantage while other people are going slowly. So they say, well, you can still refuel, but you can only put half as much in. So if you're going to fill up, then you're going to need to come in twice on a Code 60, and bearing in mind you've then got to travel at 40 kilometres an hour in the pit lane, that's a fair way of slowing everything down.
Intervention vehicle is an Audi TT and has stopped at one of the marshals points out on the circuit, so there may be an issue with the edges of the circuit, perhaps.
Marshal soup.
Right. The marshals posts are illuminated here. They don't use any lights as we saw, for example, at Abu Dhabi. New Audi TTs are on the fleet of drive experience cars here at Abu Dhabi, at Dubai, excuse me, being used as intervention cars this weekend. So just under 40 minutes to go, and it is a Code 60 at the moment. The TT intervention vehicles are out on the circuit. Now, we did hear in the drivers' meeting earlier on today, the briefing, that 400 drivers in that, by the way, and very well behaved for drivers, in fairness, that they would do a practice. This might well be it. Let's take the opportunity to head down to the pit lane, and Bruce Jones is down there for us this evening.
Well, night is fallen here, obviously, at the Dubai Autodrome. Khaled Al Qubaisi, a driver with great success here in the past. You just told me the car you're driving now, the new Mercedes, is the best you've driven.
Yeah, I can say that really. It's really an amazing car to drive. It handles much better than the previous car, which was not bad. Actually, it was very good, the SLS. And it's much more nimble from the front. And yeah, I love it. I love driving it.
Now, good in the day. What's it like in the night? Because obviously, we talked a lot. We've got 100 cars for you to play with.
Yeah, it's very, very tricky in the night. So many cars, you can't see very well. They're grouped. They're more grouped than during the daytime. So you have to be very careful and try to survive the night and hopefully come up the next day in the front.
Now, what is your season looking like for the rest of 2016?
Yeah, we're starting, of course, here with Dubai, and we're going to continue the World Endurance Championship. It's been a great championship for me. We didn't do well this year, past year, because of incidents during our races, but want to go back and do it one more time and do well.
Well, we'd love to have you there. This race last year, it didn't go the way you wanted. Is it your turn this year, or are the Audis just looking so strong?
Yeah, last 2 years, even though we were fastest, we didn't have good luck to finish the races, but this year Audis are fast, but we're confident of our pace in the race, and the driver lineup is all together can do it.
I think you could be right. Good luck, Khaled.
Thank you.
Bruce Jones and Khaled Al Qubaisi.
Khaled Al Qubaisi actually announced to me and to Radio Le Mans here that he was going to go and do the World Endurance Championship for the very first time. It's exclusive to us, what, 2 years ago now. Does time fly by? Paul, I think you were just saying there's some significant guys have not yet shown their faces in this session.
It was something that I was just checking when you were talking about the Land Motorsport Audi being second quickest at the moment by just 3/10 of a second, 1:02.08, the fastest lap. That car thus far has only been driven by Connor de Phillippi and Carsten Tilke. Neither Mark Basseng nor Christopher Mies have yet got behind the wheel of it. Now, I know it's Johnny Palmer's favourite car, but I just sort of have the feeling that the powder is pretty dry in that car at the moment. As I say, they've had their two less professional drivers, or their two amateur drivers, let's be clear about it, whereas we've got both Basseng and Mies, who are quite definitely pros.
One other quick thing, we're watching from in-car out on a very dark track indeed. Pretty certain what was going on when we saw the Audi TT pulling up to the Marshalls post earlier. It is a practice, we believe, for Code 60. Clearly, what the circuit staff have actually got the opportunity to do here is do some sighting of those marshals posts. I think what we're seeing there was the marshals pulling up and advising those marshals on each post how best to sight for the drivers with the flags and the lighting at each of the posts at night, because it's going to get very dark here, very confusing very quickly.
Yeah, and confirmed, by the way, one of the great advantages of doing endurance racing nowadays is social media, and confirmed from the organisers via Twitter that this is indeed just the practice we had expected for Code 60, and so nothing to worry about. No one has any issues at the moment. The Code 60 will be withdrawn as soon as the race director has gone around and had a look at the Marshall's points. You can see, if you have access to the video feed, either the streaming video or one of our syndicated TV partners, on the right hand side of that shot there, you could just see the Marshall's post illuminated, and they are pretty good in sighting the lightning to make sure that everything works well. There's flashing yellows, of course, over the start-finish line. That is the finishing point of the race. That's just down to our right, actually. We're looking down on that area down there. normal track resuming shortly on the timing screen.
We certainly saw one of the guys from the course car doing two things. One was talking to the marshals about how far to extend the flag and wave it into where the light, it could be seen in the lighting, and two, its position of the lighting on the marshal's post, which is pretty critical. It's all very well if it's lit up, but if actually it can't be seen from the right aspect, that's more of a problem.
What you'll tend to have is a light that shines across the front of the marshal's post, so when the flag goes out, the flag itself,
It's
and more
illuminated.
importantly, the colour of the... There's no point
Absolutely.
if you can see a stick with something hanging from it, and you can't pick the colour out. It is difficult to see flag signals. You've got to get yourself, and part of the reason that it's good that everybody should be doing night laps is you've got to know where those marshal points are in the daylight and in the dark, and nothing changes the aspect of a racetrack like turning the lights off.
Absolutely, and 100 cars.
Yeah, exactly. Paul?
Example, Mark Webber during the Austin WEC race, they changed the pit lane between practice and the race because of the way that the United Sports Car Championship cars were removed, and so there was a temporary wall that was removed. Mark Webber suddenly found himself in the pit lane, lost his reference point, and lost, 30 seconds in the pit lane whilst they sorted him out.
Yeah, straight past his pit. And of course you've got to pick your braking points with things that aren't going to move. Code 60 being counted down at the moment on our timing screens. There is something different about driving in the dark and racing on a racetrack in the dark. I love it. I've done it a couple of times now, and I absolutely love it. It brings a different aspect to racing, and we're about to go back to green flag in just a moment, but let's head down to the pit lane and Joe Bradley.
Just as you guys were talking about the conditions
green
of
flag, by the way, Joe.
dark. Sorry, John?
Green flag.
Ah, we've got a green flag, that's great. We'll get back to proper racing speed. A lot of people did not bother going round and round and round at 60 k's during that Code 60 period. We had a lot of activity down in the pit lane, and a lot of work, considering what you guys were talking about, went into just adjusting headlights. For one, I was standing right next to Johnny Palmer's favourite. That's the number 28 Land Motorsport Audi. And the little spotlights at the very front, very low down on the Audi, were being adjusted in a very Audi-like fashion with just a tiny screwdriver just altering the angle to the driver's liking. That car's now back out there, and I'm sure the driver will be reporting whether or not that's worked or not.
I really feel like I put the kiss of death on that car, you know. I like it, and I think it is one of the favourites to win, but everyone is now referring to it as my favourite.
Johnny's
I'm sorry.
Harbinger of doom.
I'm really sorry to everyone down at Land Motorsport, but it might be my fault that you don't win the race on Saturday. We'll see. Mark Basseng, though, as Joe quite rightly says, is back out again. Alex Muller back into the pits. That's the fastest car at the moment, the number 27. 2 minutes, .923 is the time that it's set. Jeroen Bleekemolen is third quickest for Abu Dhabi Racing with their Mercedes, the AMG GT, ahead of Matteo Malicelli, that's in the pits as well for Scuderia Praha. Let's head down to the pit lane, though, to get a bit more information.
We've talked to the A6 runners. Let's talk to some SP3 runners. Michael Hoffmann in one of the Ginettas. How's it going?
It's going quite well. I'm in a new team, Nova Race from Italy. The car is very new for me. It's running quite well, but to drive here in the night, it's very strange because I've had a lot of races at Nürburgring, and it's not so crowded. And yeah, but here it's very strange in the night because too many cars. But it's okay. It's a new collision.
You've just been out on the circuit, obviously in the dark. How easy is it to work out what sort of car is coming behind you, what speed they're doing?
We have a car. It's not the slowest, not the fastest car. So we are from the speed more in the front, but we have to look for the SP9 cars, for the A6 class cars. So that's the only thing, and it's okay.
Now, on your belt, you've got two flags. You're Swiss and South African. Which one are you?
Oh, that's very difficult. I'm born in South Africa, lived 16 years there, and now live a time in the Swiss, and I feel more than Swiss.
Good luck. Now we know. Have a great race.
Thank you. You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Am I allowed to say a hop Suisse then for him?
Absolutely, yes.
It fulfills my duty to my mother-in-law.
He's also given us a new word for the weekend, which I loved, crowdy.
Crowdy?
Crowdy, I like crowdy.
For the dictionary.
It's
Also,
a bit crowdy.
I like the fact he referred to the A6 cars as SP9.
SP9, very Nürburgring. Very Nürburgring.
That is the Nürburgring nomenclature, the VLN nomenclature. No major changes on the top couple of pages of the timing screen, other than that Attempto Racing Porsche, which is still in the top 10. That is the best of the AM cars now. That 999 car in 7th position, best of a 202 flat this session at least, and the best non-GT3 A6 car of any shape or form is another Porsche, and it is one of the Lechner Racing Porsches. It is the number 80 car, sitting down in 24th position.
Jaap van Lagen.
Yes, I was just checking to see if that was the J. Lagen of World Touring Car Championship fame.
And Porsche Supercup, of course.
Yeah, of course. Jaap van Lagen, the Dutch former Lada World Touring Car Championship driver.
And we did we have that at Le Mans 2 years ago? I think we did. Didn't he drive a Porsche at Le Mans? I think he might have done.
Chantal crawled behind the wheel of the Hofer Racing number 10 Mercedes-Benz, our driver's champion from last year, did maximise her opportunity, as did a few people, by driving in 2 cars in the same race and taking the best result in class for the Drivers' Championship. That has brought about a slight rule change, Chantel's Law, as we're going to call it, from Creventic, that says that if you... It's still perfectly acceptable for you to nominate yourself in 2 cars. You can drive 2 cars and have as much fun as you like in the races, so long as you don't overdo your driving time, remember. But you must tell the officials which of the cars you are scoring points in before the race starts. If you fail to do that, the organisers will default to the car with the lowest starting number.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's what we were told this morning in our briefing.
There you go. Jaap van Lagen did do Le Mans, by the way, but it was 2011.
Was it?
My life running away with me. Paul?
Don't you just love that, though, that Creventic don't just have a rule, but they also have a case for what happens if you don't follow the rule.
Yes.
So, you know,
it's called thinking ahead.
They think ahead, yes, fine.
I think that is absolutely brilliant, the way that they think ahead. And because they are drivers, of course, they, you know, both Kerry and the number of his crew have raced in the past, so they're thinking about the potential of what might happen if all doesn't go right. Let's head back down the pit lane, and Bruce is down there with more drivers. It's still just as busy out in the circuit. It's not that busy in the pit lane, but Bruce has another interview for us.
Now, a car we've seen go well in the past, but it's had its problems last year, is the MRS GT Nissan. And again, Ahmed bin Khanem, how's it going? It appears to be in the garage.
The car is really good. It was running very good at night. The car is a bit busy. 100 cars now easy. And there's a lot of new fast cars. So we'll try to manage tomorrow to do a very good stint.
Before the car had its problem, we saw Tomonobu Fuji doing some really good laps. So the speed's there.
Yeah, the car still is good, but it's different with the night and morning. So, but the car is running really good. They are doing some checks now, and it seems good.
Oh, good. So it's nothing serious under the bonnet.
No, it's fine.
Okay, best of luck in the race. In the one Nissan.
Yeah, thank you so much.
The only Nissan in the race. Thank you, Bruce. You might want to keep your cameraman looking on the pit lane, because the 202 Mark Cars Australian Mazda is finally out of its pit box with the new steering sorted out, and it should be rejoining the track shortly. Lechner Racing Middle East, their wars continue. They're already one car down. This is the Jaap van Lagen car that we were talking about just a few moments ago. Out on the circuit, it has come to a halt.
It's at turn 15, inside of turn 15.
Well, it's on the right side of the track to get recovered to the pit lane. The pit lane is a couple of 100 metres off the nose of that car. In the meantime, Joe Bradley is trying to grab a word with Franz Conrad, the venerable Franz Conrad, as a Porsche's coming out of the pit lane with no headlights on.
No, that's the 202, isn't it? That's the Mark car. Yeah.
You're right, that is the 202. Well spotted.
So
this is the first time we've seen it, guys. Yeah,
but it's nowhere near racing speed. So what's the problem now?
He's got no fire. He's trying to bump start it on the way down the hill, isn't he? Drop the clutch, put it into third, get it up to third. Go on, there you go.
Slightly
good
better.
lad. Is it fired? I think it has.
Yeah.
Yes, all is good. Get in, lads. Well done. And a new set of steering gear in that car. It's still not quite up to pace.
No, it's not.
But whoever's in that car is looking after it. We'll keep an eye on that as Joe Bradley says good evening to one of the true stalwarts of endurance racing, Franz Conrad.
Franz Conrad indeed, looking at 26. Conrad Motorsport Lamborghini. France, a lot of our listeners, viewers might be asking, you know, you've got a 24-hour race tomorrow, so why are you going round and round and round in the dark and wearing the cars out? What exactly do you get out of tonight's session?
Oh, first of all, everybody is good. They drive in the night, and we will prove the car. And I think the car is so good, doesn't matter, we run all night.
So you go around all tonight and all tomorrow night too?
Of course.
Tell us a little bit about the Lamborghini. I mean, you've got quite a history in endurance racing, Franz, and you've run so many cars. I remember the Celine S7 that you ran also many years ago. How do you rate the Lamborghini?
Oh yeah, we start this season with the Lamborghini in a GT3. Last year we drive the Super Trofeo car, and now the GT3, and I'm really impressed how good the car it is. It is the most on the car is nearly a German product, so, and I think that's is the good thing on the car.
Now, like me, you yourself will also be at Daytona in 2 weeks for another 24-hour race. Tell us about the little bit of difference between here at Dubai with the Lamborghini and what you're going to be doing in Daytona in 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, this is completely different here. I think there's too many cars here in the moment. It will be the only key to win this race or to make a good podium. Drive over the night, only that you have any crashes, and I think that's the most key. And Daytona is much easier to drive, I think. Only look for the prototypes and that's it.
Thanks, Franz. I'll leave you to go back to work.
Okay, thank you very much.
I think there is a great point being raised there in that to win this race, first of all, it's like a war of attrition, isn't it, that you've got to get through. And I remember a number of drivers said that to me last year ahead of the start on Friday afternoon. First 3, 4, 5 hours critical to you getting a good race finish, and it's just a matter of survival. The 80 car, driven by Jaap van Lagen, is now being recovered to the pit lane. And as you can see, one of many pickup trucks has picked that up now and brings it back home. The car behind needing to slow up, but there's quite a few falling up behind it. This is the only route into pit lane, obviously. The 202 is still circulating. This is the Mark car at Mazda, which has been worked on since, well, middle part of yesterday by the Red Camels team. And John Hindhaugh spotting that the headlight's certainly not pointing in the same direction. One skyward.
Helicopter spotting.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Sky night. It's perfect for that. But it will be dazzling drivers up ahead and also not ideal for finding out where the track goes next. So the 202 car, I wouldn't be surprised to see that coming straight back into pit lane after this sort of installation. Although we're hearing the Red Camels car maybe stopped out on the circuit.
Oh,
yes, it is. Oh, no.
That is so annoying. They've worked so hard to get that put back together. Now, is that power steering fluid that is leaking out?
In neutral. And, yeah, there's steam or smoke coming from the front end. Not sure. I don't think it's made contact with anything. It was going pretty slow anyway. So
let's see where he is on the circuit.
I think it's just ground to a halt. And yeah, clearly the power's off now because the headlights were working earlier on.
There's power on the dashboard.
True.
And you can see on the bottom of there. Oh, just a bit of focus. So close.
Yeah.
Hang on, we'll get a bit of focus back on that because we've got HD cameras, so we should be able to see the warning on the bottom of the Motex screen. Want to know what's the matter with the car? Actually read the warning lights. That's fantastic, isn't it?
There can't be much more to go wrong on that machine. They must have been through a great long list of trying to sort various bits and bobs out. The power steering pump was replaced, the whole steering rack's been replaced, and that was a lap just to see how things were fitted on the new car, and it's got 2/3 of the way around, I think.
And a snatch vehicle is there. One of the Nissan pickup trucks, the Navaras. New Navara due soon, which will also, in Europe at least, spawn a new Pathfinder. A new European Pathfinder, not following the Asian model. So the last 15 minutes of night practice here at Dubai Autodrome. Remember, racing tomorrow, Friday and Saturday. So Friday and Saturday is the 24-hour race. So wherever you are in the world, make sure that you remember that it's a Friday and Saturday rather than a Saturday and a Sunday race out here in the Middle East because of the way that the holy days work. There is a short warm-up in the morning local time, and then the build-up to the race from 1:30 local time. That's plus 4 hours to GMT. So many of you obviously will be working, but don't forget you can take the race with you even if you can't get to a television. And one of our syndicated television partners, the 24H series website, along with RadioLeMans.com, streaming sound and vision together. So there's no excuse for you really not sneaking a quick look at what's going on while you're doing a bit of work as well on a Friday. Out goes the BMW 151, just showing some of the variety of cars out there on the circuit. Also BMW that won the first iteration of this race back in 2006.
That's one of the M235i's.
Great concept from BMW M Sport.
Extremely successful commercially in VLN racing and beginning to now expand its horizons across the world, including here with the 24-hour series. 24-hour series.
The FIA International Endurance Series have always had a class for that car. They race in their own class. It was recognised very early that that was a good opportunity for some of the VLN teams. The German Endurance Championship held exclusively on the Nordschleife of the Nürburgring. Great opportunity for those teams to come out and get a bit more value from their cars. And at various stages we've had 8 or 10 of those cars in Creventic racing, particularly here of course. So the Belgian Audi Club is the fastest car of the evening. The Audi R8 clocking a 2 minutes 2.179.
202 now on the toe.
Yes, coming round from turn 13.
I've just been doing a bit of homework on that Belgian Audi Auto Club, Audi Club WRT car, John. The AM driver is actually Alain Ferté, because he's a bronze driver
by age now.
By age, so in a lot of ways it's a very wise move. So they've got Laurens Vanthoor as the pro, Alain Ferté as the AM, and then Michael Meadows and Stuart Leonard, which both kind of count as semi-pros, and they're in between the two. I think Michael Meadows may be AM as well, actually.
So the second fastest car this evening is Claudia Hürtgen in that car now, the 33 car collection Motorsport Audi R8, 2 minutes 0.9.
Still unusual to say the names Claudia Hürtgen and Audi together.
Yes, can't get used to it. Under 13 minutes left to go here at Dubai. let's just look at some of the classes again further down the field. And it's still Lechner Racing who have the top of the 991, the Porsche category. And SP2 is the Speed Lover Porsche, the 85 car. Let's head to the pit lane, and Bruce Jones is waiting for us down there.
We've just seen the Mark Mazda go out for the first time since his accident. It hasn't come back, but the Mark Fords are going a little bit better in the neighbouring garage. Kurt Thiel, your 5th time at the Dubai 24 Hours, but your first time in the Mark Ford. Do you like it?
Yes, it's a beautiful little car. Ryan McLeod has done a super job. It's been a couple of years now in the making, and they actually won the class here last year, but it's a very well-balanced car, fun, and yeah, we'll see. It's also supposed to be reliable, and we'll find out as we go along, but we have to stay out of trouble tonight, and obviously during the race.
Now, in your past 4 events here, Kurt Thiel, you finished every time. How confident are you can do it again? Because this year, more cars than ever.
You're absolutely right. This is a whole new ball game. I mean, you don't have a moment of rest. You're checking your mirrors behind you, in front of you, left, right, and then trying to drive fast. So, yeah, it's a real tough one. And while I've finished in the past, we've always had incidents. So it's really a question of staying out of trouble. And the race really doesn't start until tomorrow morning, about 10 o'clock. Then we can have a go at it. But right now, it's staying out of trouble.
Now, one of your teammates is in the car at the moment. Is that Griffin? And he's never been out here in the dark.
That's correct, yeah. So it's first time here for him. So he had a couple laps in free practice qualifying. And now he was out to before, but we both went out a little bit more. There's a little bit less traffic now so that we can get our reference points.
Yeah, very important. Well, look, Kurt, best of luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, great concept, that Mark Carr's space frame machine with the big V8 has proved itself for me time and time again. I think it's interesting that they have decided to try and prove that car's concept in endurance racing when it would have been easier to just do a few sprint races in that car. I think it's an interesting choice, Paul.
It is, but on the other hand, if you want to get a lot of development time, you get a lot of practice, you get a lot of racing, you get the opportunity to fix the car halfway through the race, go out again. Your instinctive point is correct, but just think about it. You get a lot more time on the track if you want to develop by going 24-hour Creventic racing.
Yes, Paul Truswell, once again, a great thought, well presented. Thank you very much indeed. It's the Dubai Autodrome 24 Hours for 2016. Well, gentlemen, 9 minutes to go now, and not too many problems. A 59.9 just gone in by Vanto in the WRT Audi. Wow, that is quite remarkable. As the 202 comes back in and they go straight to work in the vicinity of that, well, that suspension and steering rack in there. And there's clearly some fluid downspin for the 35 Porsche. That's a very pretty coloured machine, the B2F competition machine.
We've got a new fastest car in that class as well, John, because Xavier Masson has eclipsed the time of Jaap van Lagen. In the number 78 car, goes to the 4 in the 991 class, to a 5.750 now.
That's the Team America car, other than Xavier, with Joe Foster drafted into that car with the 2 Charleses.
Yeah, I think it's Joe Foster at the wheel at the moment. He was the one who took it out last time, certainly.
Okay.
18 degrees, I'm told by my phone, which is inside rather than being outside, so that's done by technology rather than having a little thermometer. But it's as cool as it's been through any of the sessions, and I suspect that's partly contributing to, well, apart from Lawrence Van Teur's skill behind the wheel of the Audi R8, his time of 1:59.921 there.
Well, more drama for that number 202 back in its pit box, having had to be told there. Bruce Jones has hustled on down, and he is standing by to give us some news. In fact, he's just about to get a word with one of the drivers of the car. Let's go down to him now. Bruce?
Jacko, it's not been a dream start for the 202 Mazda, we know that. They fixed the car, Jacko, but you did one lap and then came back.
Yeah, because we still don't have the power steering, so that's very heavy. And there was something wrong with the hose in the engine, so the engine became hot, and that's why I stopped. Now I'm going to fix that and then going out for one more lap. But we've got no power steering, it's really hard work.
When you left the pits, it seemed you had no headlights, and then when you put them on, was one pointing in the sky?
Is it? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, it is.
It is, okay. Maybe it's because of the crash that they're still not really fixed properly.
Yeah, well, your mechanics are going to be exhausted before the race. So the warm-up tomorrow morning, very important for you guys, just to learn the track.
Yeah. Very important. It's going to be, very challenging.
Okay, well, best of luck, Jacko, and also to the whole Red Camel team.
Okay, thank you.
They are putting themselves in line for the Spirit of the Race award already, as somebody's already said.
The team manager of 202 has been called to race control now, probably because the car wasn't in a fit state to be released, and I think they should have assessed that. Well, that might be the argument put to them, that, you know, did you really think that was a good idea to send it out without any power steering and with a chance of more gremlins creeping in, and clearly that was smoke then rather than, well, sorry, steam if the engine's overheating.
Driving any car that's meant to have power steering, no matter how small or big, when it doesn't have it, is nigh on impossible. Yeah. Robin Liddell finished Daytona a few years ago, the wheel of a Porsche, with, I think, the full last stint without it, and how he managed that, I have no idea. He must have had arms like Popeye.
Exactly, I was about to say, arms like Popeye from Robin Liddell.
But also the speed that it joined the track from the pit lane, you know, it crossed the pit lane speed limiting line and didn't go anywhere.
No.
Why was that? That's not down to power steering.
No, but I think, well, it's so difficult to move the wheel. I had a racing car where the power steering failed on me, and even though it was only a Mazda MX-5, because you're trying to turn, effectively you're trying to turn a pump as well as turn the steering wheel. So the fact that it's not a very heavy car, it just means I would never suggest you do it, but if you turn off your ignition and try and do that, even at in fact it's worse at slow speeds. And what happens in a race car is if you can get it going, it gets better, and you think, oh, it's not too bad, I'm doing all right, until you have to make a quick movement and balance the car through a fast corner, and all of a sudden you just can't react quick enough, which leads to very lurid slides in my case. We never went off. Probably wasn't going quick enough, in fairness. I don't think there's any other choice other than to bring that car back in this kind of situation. I struggled on for 55 minutes in the car that we had, just because our mechanics had just spent an hour fixing it, and I didn't want to give them another hour to fix it. I want to have them a cup of tea and have my go as well, in fairness. There's the 178, one of the Ginettas.
It's Colin White's car, isn't it? Yeah.
And that is top of its class. And
Matt Nicol-Jones.
That car, 48th fastest overall this evening.
So, well, actually, Bruce, I think, is lining up Matt Nicol-Jones for an interview very, very shortly, so it can't be him at the wheel.
It's Abbott.
Let's get down to Bruce straight away, then, if we can, because we're coming to the ends of our programme.
Nicol-Jones.
Go ahead, Bruce.
178.
Bruce down in the pit lane, just sorting out.
Jones going well as we get to the end of practice.
Yeah, I must admit we've been sort of fettling the car all day, and it's handling very well. Nice and consistent.
But the Ginetta, we've seen it go well here in the past, so there are no mysteries.
No, I mean it's a good bit of kit, and to be honest, the CWS guys do a really good job. So the car itself is lovely to drive. It's nice and consistent. It's easy. So I think we should be able to hold that sort of pace all day long and be in with a pretty good shot.
Well, that's a great way to feel ahead of a 24-hour race. Matt, with the rest of the crew, good luck.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Short and sweet from Bruce. Some quick final thoughts. Paul Truswell, first of all. Any hints for the race tomorrow and Saturday?
None whatsoever. I don't think we've learned anything from this. I mean, we've learned the Audis are quick. We know that Mercedes are reliable. there's the jokers in the pack of the Corvette. We know Nicky Pastorelli can drive it like the wind. You've got the Dragon Racing Ferrari. Remember last year that car in a tremendous battle for second place throughout most of the race. So I don't think we need any more. I think it's exciting enough.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks also to the rest of the team this evening. It's been a phenomenal day already, and we haven't even got to the race. There's warm-up tomorrow on the website, and then the full race live, of course. Join us at the Dubai Autodrome for the 2016 edition of the Hankook 24 Hours. For the whole team, I'm John Hindhoff. Good night.